Hi, friends. Welcome to Manitowoc Cooperative Ministry Daily Devotions. My name is Pastor Judine Duerwaechter, and today I'm going to bring you a devotional on Psalm 68. This is a long psalm, so I will simply just give you a few verses, of course, and then we'll take a look at how this might apply to our lives today. So again, Psalm 68. I'm going to read the first 4 verses, and then I'm going to move into some later verses, just about 3 of them, and we'll take a look at what it all means together. Psalm 68, let God rise up, let his enemies be scattered, let those who hate him flee before him. As smoke is driven away, so drive them away. As wax melts before the fire, let the wicked perish before God. But let the righteous be joyful, let them exult before God. Let them be jubilant with joy. Sing to God, sing praises to his name. Lift up a song to him who rides upon the clouds. His name is the Lord. Be exalted before him. With mighty chariot, twice 10,000, thousands upon thousands, the Lord came from Sinai into the holy place. You ascended the high mount, leading captives in your train, and receiving gifts from people, even from those who rebel against the Lord. God's abiding there. Blessed be the Lord, who daily bears us up. God is our salvation. Our God is a God of salvation, and to God the Lord belongs. Escape from death. Well, friends, this psalm goes on and on and on, as I mentioned in the beginning. It actually is probably a few pieces of different songs that have kind of been redacted or then cut and pasted together, so to speak. It's a chorus that would be sung like during a long procession or a pageant. It may be even like an overriding song that or chorus that would be sung or played in a play. So at the beginning, there's this prelude, of course, and then eventually it moves into this victorious march of God going from, you heard, Sinai, then into the wilderness. And then ultimately there's this entrance into Zion. So in other words, they've met their destination, this entrance into Zion. And then it's implied that it is here where God will rule. And then there's this grand exhortation and celebration because they've made the journey. Well, where this comes from is that those first 3 verses is actually Moses using the literal words that he would speak when he would kick off the lifting up of the ark, when the Israelites would resume their march through the wilderness after an evening of rest in their camp. You recall that the 10 Commandments were housed in the Ark of the Covenant. And the Israelites, when they left Egypt and journeyed into the wilderness for decades and decades, they brought, of course, the 10 Commandments with them in this ark where it was housed. And they believed that that is where God was, and that God was with them in this ark through the 10 Commandments. So every morning when they would get up and move to a new location in the wilderness, Moses would speak these uplifting words that you heard me read in the first 3 verses. And then as they journeyed, they're mindful that God has been good to them, that God is their protector, and that God has saved them from oppression, and that God will preserve them with his mightiness as they journey through the wilderness among the nature, where they can actually look to nature and see evidence of God as well. In other words, the whole journey in the wilderness isn't without difficulty, but what we want to be sure is that God has given them a victory, that their enemies have been hunted down, and even when it may have appeared against all odds, that God has given them a victory. And then in the final verses, toward more the 30s, 34, 35, we see where this spectacular procession ends up happening. as they move toward the temple. So, what we're hearing is really that they use the Ark of the Covenant as their, for us as Christians, it might be as the face of Jesus or as the cross. But of course, for the Hebrews, um, the case was again the Ten Commandments that they would look to understand that God worked and walked with them through their journey in the wilderness. Above all things, that they would be successful no matter what had happened. So that was a plea to stay the course as they sang this psalm, to stay the course, and that God is always, always with us. And I pray that that be a truth for you this day, that you are mindful that God journeys with you because God is of you and God is within you. And there isn't anything that you cannot accomplish because that energy abides in you and created you in perfect love. I hope this was helpful today.